Welcome to the swamp. Ever wanted to build yourself a dwarven village, build it up from nothing, all while defending it from bloodthirsty beasts? I sure as hell have, but there's a limited amount of dwarven games on Steam to play, so I picked out HammerHelm to see what it's all about. My name is Excalligator, and I review games using a category-based system built for survival, open world, and RPG titles. Each category is rated on a scale from 1 to 5, and if something doesn't apply to a specific game, it will not affect the overall score. Now let's get started. HammerHelm is a game where you are the leader of a newly formed dwarven town above the surface to try to take advantage of what the mountains could not give. The game plays more like a city builder sim with mild action combat and RPG elements. The character creator is fine for what it is. The spinning, I don't know if that's a bug. I tried to stop it, but my character just kept spinning, which annoyed the hell out of me. But besides that, you have the basic amount of options that you can pick from and that you would expect from a dwarven character. So because of how basic it is, I'm just gonna give it a 3 out of 5. The prologue is simply a pop-up that you have to read in order to understand the scope of the game before you meet up with an NPC. At this point in time, you are still underground while it establishes that you are about to head up and begin your colony, though once you reach the overworld, you cannot return. You are then given a designated space to place down your buildings as you see fit. Granted, of course, you have the resources, which you will notice the land itself is small, but we'll get to that later. For now, you do what any survival game would do and gather wood and stone, as well as other materials to build your first building. The game will offer up pop-up tips with basic guide through the game, and eventually you will be able to build a house and have your first NPC living in your home. The start of the game, I'm just going to give it a 4 out of 5. The story itself is kind of bland, but overall the mechanics of getting started is basic and feels fine, though a bit slow. However, once you get going, then you can warm right up to the progression loop. The exploration is not that good. You are restricted to one small island, a chunk of land that is a building plot for your town, but the rest of the island lacks diverse biomes. It will have some points of interest to look at, but you will not find enemies spawning naturally. They will spawn randomly as mini events for you to take out when your village detects them spawn in. At random times, you can have caves spawn as well to enter and clear out enemies and harvest resources. On the rare occasions, you can get quests to delve into larger instanced areas. Sometimes it can be like a crypt or a tower. Even at one point, I got a quest to rescue my villagers from orcs who had taken them back to their homeland. So the game sent me to another landmass and disguised myself as an orc in order to rescue them, but that stopped my gameplay and production flat until it was dealt with. So the fact that it was mandatory did annoy me a bit, and also the orc segment took a lot longer than it should have. Though overall, because of the lack of overworld to explore, no real reason to explore until things randomly spawn in, I'm gonna have to give this a 2 out of 5. When you have the supplies needed, you can pull up the building menu and place whatever building piece down on a grid. It is best to plan out where you want things ahead of time, as you will need a lot of specialty buildings as you get further into the game, as well as homes for your workers. I made a residential area, then I built a town square with most of my shops around it, and then I had a farmland. You can decorate the village with roads and have defensive walls. Every so often, you will have indicators that enemies are nearby and they will randomly spawn on the island in either a camp or a newly spawned cave, which acts like a mini dungeon. More on that in the PvE section. I tried waiting them out to see if they would go away on their own. They don't really, but nothing really happens if you leave it be. Though of course the notification will not go away until the enemies are defeated. It does add a bit of annoyance if you are in the middle of something and you get a message to defend against a newly spawned enemy camp. Sometimes you can get quests from the NPCs as well. Aside from that, it's mostly a resource management game. You need wood and stone to build huts, and farms to grow food, medicines, tools, gear, and so on. With, of course, the people to run the stores and the various collection areas from lumber and mines. Each villager needs a home and they will have needs and wants. The various homes can hold up to a couple of dwarves at a time, but you will need to build multiple if you want to have a larger city. The town itself is mostly safe as enemies never really attack your people or your town, though sometimes you will get events and quests that can halt the production line until dealt with, like the orc one I mentioned before. When it comes to the crafting, as you upgrade your village, you will have to have buildings and NPCs who can craft these items for you. Granted, you have the required material. It seems to me that most of everything is unlocked from the start so long as you do have the correct building and resources on hand, but most of the resources are found based on your character level and growth among the random caves that will spawn, rather than exploring a certain biome, that is. I'm gonna give this section a 4 out of 5. It functions fine, the random events do get a bit annoying at times, but overall the workflow and the progression loops works fairly well as a sim game. This is where the game falls a bit flat. While it is fun to get a random event or a quest to take you somewhere that isn't just a randomly spawned camp, and you get to actually take on a dungeon, it is a bit more exciting being able to loot what you can and defeat the enemies within. However, the combat itself sucks. It is very static. The enemies are slow moving and your attacks and even blocks can freeze your character in place, making it feel jagged. Overall, the combat isn't hard. I didn't die once while playing it, and as your village progresses, you can craft potions and better armaments to make yourself stronger for more difficult enemies. As the longer you play, you will find stronger foes that will spawn more often, like the orcs for an example. You will notice the health bars of the enemies have different colors. I'm not really for sure on the significance, but it seems to be that the red means regular enemy, while purple or yellow is elite. Though I didn't really notice anything different for strength other than them having more health. You can sometimes find boss battles in the more story-driven quests, but they were really not worth writing home about. Overall, I'm gonna give this section a 2 out of 5, just for the jank feeling and not being as fluid. The last time this game got an update, it was a hotfix back at the end of 2024, so this game hasn't been touched in 2 years. Now, it is not listed as early access, and that the game officially released in 2021, which means that this game is considered a feature-complete game. Anything that you dislike about it will not be changed in the future, and it doesn't seem that there will be any more content updates. I didn't have many technical issues while playing the game. Most of the things that I didn't like were from a systems perspective. I did have a few enemies get stuck or some graphical issues, but I didn't have any lag or disconnects, so I don't mind giving it a 4 out of 5 for being functional. My overall score for HammerHelm is going to be a 3.2 out of 5. Overall, it has a decent progression loop that can entertain you for maybe 10 to 20 hours of fun. The city sim aspect isn't big enough to really play it as a sim game, and the adventure aspect here is hyper limited to not really allowing you to play it as such. You are at the mercy of RNG for most of your gameplay. This is a definite wait for sale game, but it wouldn't hurt to try it out if you are curious enough. And that is the end of this video. If you enjoyed this review, make sure to subscribe. I'll be diving into more in-depth reviews of open-world sandbox RPG games, including ones no one ever talk about, buried deep in the darkest corners of Steam. Some of them even look like the muck at the bottom of my pond. For pure gameplay content, check out my second channel, Excalligator Gaming, where I post full narrated playthroughs, funny shorts, and streams. Do you have a game that you think I should cover next? Drop it in the comments below. Florida Gatorman out.